Professor Joseph Drew here from UTS. This is my last video for you, I believe. It's on the new water and sewer prices. Now, if you've watched my other videos, my waste video in particular, you know my approach to things. If you're one council, you have one product at one price. Just the same, it doesn't really matter where I go to buy a violet crumble, I pay the same price. I unwrap the chocolate bar and I get the same chocolate bar. And no one ever contributes towards the cost of my chocolate bar, nor do I expect anyone else to pay for part of my chocolate bar. Same deal with council services. But it's a little bit more complicated, water and sewer, than what waste is, because there's some guidelines that we must follow. First of all, the state government tells us we must fully recover costs, plus get a return on capital. What that means is we get a little profit. Now, clearly that hasn't happened because our water fund and our sewer funds are about to be empty of money. We don't have enough money at present to do the work that we need to do on the water pipes still at Cootamundra and the sewer plant at Gundagai. The prices must give you strong signals so you use your water carefully. The supply charges must cover 50% of the total revenue. So you'll remember your water charge notice comes in two sections. There's an access charge, just to be hooked up to the water grid or have the potential to be hooked up. And there's also a supply charge. For every 1,000 litres or 1 kilolitre, we charge you X number of dollars. Now what this is saying is that my supply charge needs to be high enough so that it covers at least 50% of the total revenue. That really puts a floor under the minimum price I can charge you for your supply charge. I'd like it to be lower than what I ended up recommending, but because of this rule it can't be. Number 4 is that I need to encourage you to conserve water. There needs to be 2 tiers. The second tier of the pricing needs to be increased by at least 50%. So that once again forces me to charge you a certain amount of money. And cross subsidies, which were rampant previously, must be removed. They're the rules we must play by and every council must play by. So let's have a look at your current water charge. Most of you on the standard access, which is 20 millimetres. Formerly Cootamundra was paying $371 per year, Gundagai $230. I'm proposing $400. I need to get enough money to finish the water pipe work, and then I need to have enough money in what we call our capital reserves, so that if something goes wrong, a pipe blows up or a pump stops working, we actually have money to fix it, because at the moment we don't, essentially. Now, there's also some non-standard accesses. Very few people have these. They've got bigger pipes because they have bigger water demands for some reason. Those people, the price goes up by the square of the diameter. If you cast your mind back to primary school mathematics, you'll remember the area of a circle is pi r squared. The diameter is twice the radius. So just trust me on this. If you don't want to go back to your maths, all I need to do is work out the proportion that the diameter increased by, square it, and then times it by 400, and that'll give you a perfect increase in price. It's perfectly in line with the extra volume of water you can carry through those pipes, and that's what I've done here. So all these figures are worked out simply by, I'll give you an example, the 40 mil pipe, I went 40 divided by 20, I squared that to get 4, I times that by the original price 400, that gets me 1600. Vacant charges will be the same as people who don't have vacant plots of land. We're charging the full rate. That's because these people obviously won't have to pay usage costs because they have no taps on their land. But it's reasonable that people with vacant blocks of land do pay a charge, because when you go to sell a block of land, if it has the capacity or access to town water, it can be hooked up to town water, that gets you a premium. You actually get more money for your land. So it's not unreasonable to ask people to contribute a little bit towards this premium that they'll get when they eventually sell their land, or when they hook the house up, build a house and hook it up and want to use the water. So, supply charges. This is what happened previously. Cootamundra just had one. They didn't have the 2 tiers that we're supposed to have. $225 for residential, $247 for business. So there was cross-subsidisation happening here. We were slugging business for more money for the same amount of water. Now, the cost of providing 1,000 litres of water to business is precisely the same as providing 1,000 litres of water to your house. There's no reason for the price to be different. It was a cross-subsidy. There was even more so the case for community organisations. They were paying much less. It was cross-subsidisation. The rules say quite clearly that we're not allowed to cross-subsidise. Gundagai, they had 3 tiers in place. Now, remember the tiers were supposed to go up by 50%, and they're now recommending 2 tiers, so we needed to change that too. So what I'm recommending is $2 per kilolitre for the first 39 kilolitres per quarter. Now the reason why I've gone to $2, I experimented with a number of different prices, but I had to make sure I met that rule, which was I got at least 50% of my revenue through these supply charges. And unfortunately, water use goes up and down with the seasons, and up and down year by year, depending whether there's droughts on or not. The only way I could guarantee to get at least my 50% was setting that fee at $2. Once I set the fee for the first tier at $2, your second tier just is a logical conclusion. It must go up by 50%, so the least it could be was $3. Now, why have I gone for 39 kilolitres per quarter? My idea is I want people who can't afford to pay the extra for the water to be able to avoid doing so if they're very careful with the use of water. So I looked at the Australian Bureau of Statistics data. The average number of people per household in the new Cootamundra-Gundagai area is 2.3. I rounded it up to 3 people to be generous and to make sure we're looking after families. But bear in mind, as the number of people in your house goes up, your capacity to live on less water increases. For instance, you put the washing machine on full, whether there's one person's washing in there or there's 3 people's washings in there. There's some sort of economies as you get more people in the household. So anyway, I went off 3 people, and the minimum water that's usually, well, the maximum water that's allowed to be used usually in drought scenario is 140 litres per person per day. That's what it is in Tamworth. So times that 140 litres per person per day by 3, times by 365 for the number of days in a year, divided by 4 to turn it back into a quarter, because your bills are quarterly, not daily or yearly, and rounded up, and that's 39 kilolitres, 39,000 litres per quarter at the lowest tier. So people who can't afford a big increase, they can reduce their water use to that amount that's used in a lot of drought-stricken places like Tamworth, and if they do so, they'll get their water, in a lot of cases, cheaper than what they're currently paying for it. You'll recall Cootamundra was $2.25. I'm proposing $2. It's dearer for Gundagai than what they had previously, unfortunately. So that's the reasoning behind those charges. Now, it's always interesting to see what other OLG 11 councils are doing, but bear in mind, just because these councils are charging these fees doesn't mean it's right. You can see quite clearly some of them aren't abiding by the guidelines, and they may not have the budget emergency you're having. They may have money in their capital reserves for water and don't have to do much work. We've got the opposite situation. We've got hardly any money left in our capital reserves. We've got heaps of work to still do. So Leeton 275 access, and then it goes from 110 up to 160, 279. You'll see these are annual tiers. I don't like that. I like quarterly tiers. That way you don't get a nasty surprise in that very last bill of the year. Yes Valley 480, dearer than what I'm suggesting, and higher supply costs starting at 340. Carra 215, much cheaper, but a fixed supply cost, much dearer for the whole lot. Cobon, about the same as I'm suggesting, but dearer supply charges. So I understand it's gone up for a lot of you. I'm very sorry about it. I hope it doesn't cause too much pain, but you can see that I'm pretty well in the ballpark. You're not being asked to do anything that other people in similar sized councils are having to do. So what is complicated, as I say, it goes up and down with the seasons, and it's sensitive to price, and then we have years when we have droughts and floods and things like that. That's what really boxed me into that $2 price. I was trying to get it down lower for you. And I need to, there is a certain amount of money we must get to be able to finish the work on the water pipes in Cootamundra. I need to get it. And I need to get money back in those all-important capital reserves, because if I don't get money back in there and a pump blows or pipes blow, we don't have the money to fix it. We can't be in that situation. So I hope you understand why I've done what I've done. Now let's have a look at sewer charges. Now, I think it's probably already occurred to a lot of you that one community will lose on one thing and they'll win on the other thing. So Gundagai, their water fees went up, but their sewer fees are going down, and it's the opposite for Cootamundra. So if you look at what's happened previously, Cootamundra was paying $454, Gundagai was paying $800. Now that's despite the fact that you were one council with one product, one group was paying twice as much as the other, it doesn't seem quite right. As I've always said, these fees should have been harmonised day one after the forced amalgamation by the administrator. If they'd been done then, we'd be in a much better financial position than what we are now, and it would have been fairer for the last 4 years. But we can only deal with what we've got. So I'm trying to fix them now for you. My proposal is we go down to $700. Vacant previously paid far less, particularly in Gundagai. I'm proposing they pay half the access fee. And it's a similar story to the water connection. If you've got a block of land, you're selling it, it has access to sewer, you get paid quite a big premium for that block of land when you sell it. Now, if you're going to make money when you sell your land, it's only fair that you contribute towards the infrastructure, the sewer plant in particular at Gundagai that needs to be fixed, which is required in order for you to make this extra money. Now, it's half instead of the whole because unlike water, there's no usage charge. So that's why I went for half the fee for sewer instead. So let's look at what happens around the traps. Leeton 600, Yass Valley 700, Cower 723. So those two are similar to me. Cobon 600. Bear in mind, these people mightn't have budget emergencies like we have. We've got millions and millions and millions of dollars to spend on Gundagai's sewer plant next year. It must be done. We have insufficient money to get that work done. Then we've got to make sure that we've got money in case something else goes wrong. Now, I was told we needed a certain amount of money. I wasn't aiming for $700 neat. It just happened to be the number that gave me the money that we need to do the work that we have to do. So once again, look guys, you really do honestly have my sincere apologies for it. I know it's a lot of pain. This is pain that's been decades in the making. You can see that your fees are way cheaper than other similar councils all these years, and certainly for the last 4 years. Unfortunately, it's pain that we've just got to work through so we can do the things we have to do so that you can have the standard of life that you want to have or need to have. Sewer. Surgeon work has to be done. We've got to bring in this additional revenue, as I said. Now, look, I'm conscious it's the worst possible time of all this virus business. And council's very conscious of it. They've got hardship provisions. If you want people doing it particularly tough at the moment, look right into the council and they'll sort something out, some relief for you. Now, on a last note, it's quite a sad note, I must say goodbye. As you know, I'm a full-time academic. I haven't been a full-time academic this year. I've been full-time working for Cootamundra-Gundagai up until next Thursday. And I need to get back to my work. It's piling up around my ears and I've got a high court case to prepare for that I'm an expert witness at. So, goodbye, but I'm not forgetting about you. Your counsellors know how to get hold of me, your GM does. I'll be looking in occasionally to make sure that we're sticking to the plan and everything's going well. I'm sure we will, and I'm sure we'll deliver great outcomes for you, and I really thank you for all your time over these last 3 months. Bye.